Hey, welcome back to the show. So glad to have you with us today. We are talking all things caffeine. Whether you like coffee or soda, or maybe even just a pre-workout drink, Tara Finnerty is here, and you are a pediatric dietitian.
Yes, correct.
So you deal a lot with kids, but today we're talking about all ages when it comes to caffeine.
Because all ages are drinking caffeine. Surprisingly, children, adolescents, and adults. It's a growing trend. And it's just growing in different forms of caffeine that you can find it in.
Okay, so let's talk about what caffeine is first.
So caffeine is not a nutrient. It's not essential, although a lot of people would argue with me about that. It is not essential. We don't need it to survive. It is a stimulant. It affects your brain, your spinal cord, your nerves. It helps us feel more awake and alert and energetic, and those are all good, positive things. So there's some positivity that caffeine brings, but in excess, it can cause some negative health effects, and those are what we should be aware of.
Okay, so let's talk about how much caffeine is in certain things. You brought such great visuals today to show this, because I was shocked when I saw all of these and how much is actually in them. So let's start over here.
So we have your standard 8-ounce cup of coffee. Now that's going to range, and know that all these will vary depending on the size, the type of beans. So you have your 8-ounce cup of coffee, and this is probably a really high end, is 180 milligrams. And then we go from your 12-ounce, we have your 16-ounce and 20-ounce. So these are going to be your coffee house coffees, and so a lot of you can kind of see the content as they increase, obviously, with volume. And so this would be about a day's worth of caffeine.
Okay, I was going to say, so let's talk about this biggest one right here. Over 400
This is over 400 milligrams of caffeine, which is actually the guidelines that the FDA has set for adults. And they say if you can keep it 400 and under, you're probably in a good place, and there's no negative side effects or health.
That's probably great news to a lot of you out there who love getting in your morning drink. So there you go. You can get that big morning drink, but that's kind of it for the day.
But then what happens in the afternoon? So, you know, 2 to 3 hours later, you're going for the energy shot that's about a cup of coffee, and that can even come in an extra strength. Are we going for our Red Bulls and Rockstars and Monsters, which you can see the content is pretty significant?
It seems like energy drinks are getting really popular with teenagers.
Yes, it is one of the biggest trends in caffeine consumption, and actually the trend is going from caffeine coming from your typical caffeinated sodas to energy drinks, especially in high school and even junior high.
Wow.
So yeah, and those can either contain a lot of other ingredients that our bodies may or may not do well with or need. So
okay, I have a friend who just lives for his daily Rockstar, and he says, you know what, I drink this one, it has no sugar, and it also, what's the other thing in there? It's supposed to be like
they have
0 calorie. No sugar, no calorie. So is this a better option with no sugar and no
well, that's going to a whole nother topic of calories and the sugar and the calories that are associated with caffeine. But in caffeine itself, is this all you're having? You're still staying within the guidelines.
Okay, so there you go. Good news for him. Okay, and then one surprising thing, did you know that you could get caffeinated ice cream?
You can, and I'd have to say this is very good. But don't eat it at night, because it may keep you awake.
So it actually works.
It does work. A cup of Ben & Jerry's, the coffee flavored one, is about 100 milligrams.
Wow.
A cup of coffee and about a cup.
Okay, and then a lot of people's favorite drink, Coke and Diet Coke.
Yep, and so that's a pretty general range for the caffeine content, between 30 to 50, 60 milligrams per 12-ounce can, and then obviously it will go up.
Okay, we have a couple more things to cover, you guys, and we are going to come back right after a short commercial break and tell you how you can curb your caffeine intake just a little bit if you're interested. So thanks for being here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Stay with us. Hey, welcome back. I am with Tara, dietitian at Primary Children's. You deal a lot with kids, but also we're talking all ages today when it comes to caffeine. So you gave us all these great examples of how much caffeine is in all sorts of things, whether it's coffee or ice cream. And what happens if you have too much?
So the FDA set guidelines about 400 milligrams per day. So if you're consuming more than that and having side effects, you may start experiencing increased anxiety. It can also cause insomnia and irritability, agitation. It can upset your stomach. And it can also interfere with nutrient absorption, so calcium and bone health it can eventually affect.
Okay, and you also sent me an interesting fact about kids that said that kids get less sleep if they...
So
that makes sense, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does make sense. And I think that's really important because kids need so much sleep. So a study showed that kids who consume the most caffeine slept the least amount of time at night.
Which makes, that makes total sense. Kids have enough energy.
I know.
As is. They don't need a rock star, right?
Yeah, and there's really no guidelines currently in the United States for kids, but it's generally just recognized to, or recommended to avoid it.
Okay, so for kids, just avoid the caffeine. What about for adults who are watching this thinking, okay, maybe I go a little overboard now and then. How do I cut back?
Yeah, so if you realize that you need to cut back and you want to say, oh, you know, I tried to cut back before, but I get the caffeine headache, the migraines, I have no energy, I don't want to work out anymore. I mean, those are all withdrawal symptoms that you should expect. You're going to experience those more if you go cold turkey. So I would recommend trying to gradually wean off caffeine.
Oh,
so
okay.
It could, you know, if you have 5 cups of coffee, can you do 2 and then switch over to maybe some black tea? You know, can you swap out some water for some of your coffee and just gradually wean off over a few weeks or even a month to minimize those symptoms?
I mean, it is possible. I have a lot of friends who have quit caffeine and it was hard and they got the headaches and everything like that, but they said they felt good
over time. Those will go away. Those symptoms will go away, and you should be able to. And you know, but you should be able to get enough sleep at night. So obviously, if you're cutting back caffeine, but you're still only allowing yourself 4 to 5 hours of sleep, you're going to have a hard time. So you should be checking your lifestyle to see if you can balance that out to go off the caffeine.
Okay, great point. And then one thing we didn't cover before was the fact that a lot of people get caffeine in pill form.
Yes, so surprisingly, you can just buy straight caffeine, 200 milligrams of caffeine per single tablet. A big boost, it's a little bit over a cup of coffee. And, you know, even like Excedrin, a lot of people realize that Excedrin is the only thing that will help with their headaches. And it's probably because of the dependency on caffeine.
Oh, okay.
So,
are these safe?
Well, again, if you stay within the 400 milligrams for adults, I don't think children should be taking caffeine tablets. So hopefully not.
Yeah, hopefully not. And then one other thing over here that we had never heard of before, they are little bites, little treats that are caffeinated.
Yeah, they're chocolate. It's basically caffeinated candy and chocolate. So those who, you know, if you're eating that at the end of the day and you had your coffee and your rock star, you may be piling up on the caffeine a little bit and have trouble sleeping at night.
Tara, I have learned so much. Thank you for being here. This was eye-opening. And I hope you guys have too. We will post all of her information on our website, fox13now.com. Just click on the place. Thank you so much. And let's